that every man must have. Here I discuss two very important words in a marriage relationship: negotiate, accommodate, in this book. I also talk about manhood and resources. I talk about the manhood agenda. So you can buy for yourself as a man, you can buy for your husband. Very important book. Then I have this one, The Happening Woman. This is for women. If you are married, get a copy for your wife. This is for women. It is not about women. It's not about women. It's for women. Here, I cover very, very important chapters. And at the back, it simply says, life is about happening. You happen, it happens. You don't happen, it doesn't happen. The magic is in the action. Launch from your circumstances, engage, discover, and happen. That's what I'm saying in this book. First chapter says the genesis of a happening woman. Second says the happening woman and her story. When you run out of fuel. The happening woman and the first husband. Every woman must have two husbands. Yes. If you have one, it's not enough. Choosing where there is no choice. The happening woman and the image management. The happening woman as an entrepreneur. The happening woman and the invoice. Happening in leadership. The primary asset of the happening woman. The happening woman and understanding man. Understanding man. I reveal things here that the man will not tell you about them. Happening woman, mental wellness. The happening woman and the mama's boy syndrome. Mama's boy syndrome. The happening woman, relationships and gender-based violence. We always wonder, why is she not getting out of that relationship? There's something that happens in relationships that works like super glue, where you are stuck until you die. I reveal it here. The happening woman and the marriage. The happening woman as a parent. When the happening woman marries a divorcee, the happening woman happens at V1. So, these books are available. This one, the Lord just opened the door for it. This one. This one will be available in exclusive books next year. Yeah. That's how powerful it is. I sent it to exclusive books. They voted on it. So it will be in exclusive books. It's not an easy place to enter, to sell there. This one, I started, the first edition, I wrote it in 2018. This one, so far, I have sold 15,000 of them. I'm sure some of you have read it. So I encourage you to, it's one thing to listen to a man, but another to invest in your mental development. I belong to publishing. In publishing, we say, a speaker writes their words on water. A writer carves them on stone. If you go to a river, can I repeat that? A speaker writes their words on water. A writer carves them on stone. If you go to a river and put your foot in the river and take it out and put it again, you are not putting your foot in the same river. Yes, the river where you put it first is gone. You are putting it in another river. But when you read, in fact, the Bible even says, blessed is the reader, and then the hearer. It's the reader first. During lunch, there was a discussion among us men, and we were discussing women. You know? So I decided to begin this afternoon on that point. Now, the Bible says things that we don't pay attention to most of the times. And I've learned that in church, there is what the Bible says, and there are teachings. A teaching is an assembly or a lineup of verses to convey a theme. That's a teaching. But the Bible sometimes says things that are not found in our teachings. Sometimes we teach things that are not found in the Bible. Now I just want to read something here for you. But before I read it, let me give you an illustration. When I was a young man, I used to do stamp collection. You know stamp collection? Maybe some of you young guys have never seen a stamp. When we grew up, we wrote a letter, we bought an envelope. Okay? And then the post office will also sell stamps. And we would write the address on the envelope, write the letter, put it inside there, and then we would take the stamp and do that. Stick it. And then we go to the post office, we put it in the slot. And sooner or later, we'll get another letter because they've received ours. The stamp was to give, it's a sign that you have paid for the service. If you put that stamp, the letter will go to the address. If it has no stamp, it won't go because you have not paid. So to do that and pay and it goes. I used to do that. I would collect stamps. But one of the things that was very difficult was to separate the stamp from the envelope. Most of the times, it's not the envelope that tears. It is the stamp. Are you following me? You follow me careful. The stamp will be torn. So you really have to delicately separate the two, put your stamps and put them on a piece of paper or on a board, and you have all these stamps from Malawi, Botswana, Zambia, Mozambique, Europe. You had all these stamps. Beautiful. Even your local country, of course. We used to do that. Now, when I grew up, as I have grown up, I read the Bible. And it will say, Genesis 2:24, for this cause a man shall leave his father and his mother, and shall cleave to his wife, and they shall become one flesh. When you read this text is about a movement. There is a movement in the text. There is a departure. according to the text. The text says there's a departure. Who departs? The man. The man departs. I know when we marry, we collect them. Okay? We collect them. But you know, when we collect them, when they arrive, they don't arrive to stay. They arrive to take. In other words, we simply say, come and collect me. Come and take me. They take us. Because according to this text, the man departs. And it says, a man shall leave his father and his mother and shall cleave. You know, when I applied to the analogy of this, the letter, here, the man is the stamp. He is not the envelope. The man is the stamp. The letter is in the envelope, in the woman. In the woman. In the woman. The address, where is it? On the envelope, not on the stamp. Yeah, the address is on the envelope. So your destination is on the envelope. That's your destination. You are a stamp. The letter goes to the address on the envelope, not to the stamp. The stamp must stick and cleave. And should you separate it, who tears first? The stamp. So when you marry and you say, I do, remember, when you try to undo, you will be damaged. Yes, chances are you will be damaged. She won't. She may be disturbed, but she won't be damaged. Because how many women have you heard who killed themselves because they were divorced? Very few. But men, they go bonkers, isn't it? Look for a gun, look for poison, look for a rope, kill themselves. She remains to raise her children. Sometimes they will not love you because you are an animal, and they will tell their friends, "Ngihlalele bantwana nje." Are you with me? Yeah, she will be there to raise the children. You have heard of passion killings, right? Yeah, the other time I went in Swaziland, I was praying for a young man in a hospital, and he's there. I was told, say, you go and pray for that guy. And I asked him, what happened? He says, I drank paraffin. You drank paraffin? Yeah, I drank paraffin because my girlfriend was cheating on me and what? He drank paraffin. Kerosene, that's what we call it, isn't it? It's kerosene. He drank paraffin. It's paraffin water. I mean, you have already been cheated, okay? You are already in pain. But you add more pain on yourself. You know how stupid we can be? Sometimes we punish the woman by punishing ourselves. And you think she will feel pity. Uzofa wedwa. You die alone. God gave women resilience and durability. That's why I said in the morning, the life of a man belongs to a woman. It belongs to a woman. So, when it comes to this movement, it is the man to cleave. Two things. The man leaves, the man cleaves. When at the altar of marriages, when the minister says for better or for worse, that does not apply to her. It applies to you. Depending on where she will take you. It will either for better or for worse. Because you are cleaving, isn't it? Yeah. Depending on the address. You read this book, Adventist Home. Yeah. Ellen White speaks there powerfully. You know, she says, I can't quote the page. Depending on who you marry, it's either you put an X over your future or a tick. Not because they are bad. No, they are not bad. But they are very powerful. Do not underestimate. Can I tell you more? Don't be afraid. Revelation 17. And I saw a beast with how many heads? 7 heads. 7. It says, I saw a beast terrible and indescribable. That's the beast. Huh? It came out of water. And then one of its heads was wounded. You know, when I grew up, when these pastors will preach on prophecy, they will put these pictures of these beasts. One that is red, but it's colors of a leopard, you know, with horns. And we would watch those things and would wonder, does it really exist? If it exists, where does it live? And would imagine that, hey, water. Those beasts live in what? In water. But guess what the Bible says? And on top of that beast, who sat? On top of the beast, terrible and indescribable, there sat a what? A woman. There sat a woman. I know when you read that symbolism, you just read it to say, oh, this is prophecy. No, that's reality. There sat a beast. And then it will say, in her hands is what? A cup. Is it empty? It's full. The cup is full. But she seated on the beast with a full cup. Do you know what that means? Tell me what it means. What does that picture? You just look at it. What does the picture mean? What does the picture tell us? Huh? She's in control. Who said that? She is in control. The cup is full. There are 7 heads. It's terrible, but she has a cup. Meaning, terrible as you are, 7 heads as you have, you can never spill the contents. Comfortable. She's in control. It only moves at her command. That's why her cup is what? Is full. Is it full of water? It's full of what? Wine. Wine is not like marijuana. Marijuana is a hallucinogen. It creates a world in your head that does not exist outside. Alcohol is an intoxicant. It's a depressant. It slows down your nervous system. That's alcohol. So she's full of what? Wine. She's going to intoxicate them. And it says, and the kings of the what, there's something it says there, are drunk. Are you with me? They are drunk. Is she drunk? No, she's not. She cannot be drunk and be in control. Because once you are drunk, you lose what? Oh, you know that. That's why they say, don't drink and you will lose control. She's going to make them lose control while she's in control. When you are married, you are intoxicated. I withdraw that. I withdraw that. I'm painting what we call an allegory. I'm allegorizing. To allegorize means to insert meaning. That's not there. This picture doesn't mean what I've said. But I'm simply saying, if you extract it and spice it, it has a different meaning. She's in control. 7 heads. But she directs where they should go. How many heads do you have? 1. And you have been fallen for 6,000 years. You are not even vertical. You are already horizontal. So she doesn't need to take you down. She just walks over you. Because you're already on the ground. Anyway, somebody said, fortune is a woman. Fortune. Fortune is a woman. If you want to be wealthy, get married. Yes. If you want to be wealthy, get what? Get married. Because they are gifted naturally. Nature is full of diversity. Nature has gifted them naturally. Bachelors think they live a better life because they are not married. But they forget that outside the leash, life is difficult. You get married, the economy improves. Even in the house. Your economy will improve. Your diet will improve. Did you know that married men live longer than single men? Yes. Scientifically. A married man will live longer than a single man. So to really try and stay single is to shorten your lifespan. I withdraw that word. So in this text, the man lives, the man cleaves. I'm trying to talk about marriage, if you are listening to me. Yeah. Talk about marriage here. That in this part of the Bible, before the entrance of sin, that was God's original formula. You live, you cleave, you will arrive. You live, you cleave, you will arrive. You don't live, you don't cleave, you won't arrive. Okay. Now, the theme of our week has been positioning, isn't it? Positioning. Now, I want to share a few things here on positioning. Okay. There are two modes or ways of going to heaven. One is the transit method. The other one is the exodus method. Transit method and exodus method. Transit simply means you are passing by or through. If you go to OR Tambo and you are flying from Zambia to Beijing, when you get off the aircraft, when you approach immigration, they write on top there, transit. They put an arrow. Then they'll say, immigration passports. When you are in transit, you don't need to take out your passport. You will be in South Africa, but you are not in South Africa. But you're on the soil. You walk in the airport, the plane has landed on South African soil, you have your passport, you are there, but you are not there. Therefore, you won't stamp your passport. Transit. They even have what they call transit hotel. Should you spend a night there, you will spend that night in South Africa, but outside South Africa. Yes. Because for you to be in South Africa, they need to stamp you go through immigration. You go through immigration. So that's what they do. That's a transit model. I had gone with my wife, she was graduating somewhere, and we went, and they give you these cards for lounges. Yeah. The world is cruel. You get a card, I got a card. They write it so well, they say, world citizen. World citizen. It allows you to go into these waiting lounges. When you go into a lounge, there is food, there are showers, it's like you are in a lounge. You are at home. If you don't have that card, you spend your time on the benches, those metal benches. Even if you are waiting for 12 hours, you will be there. So we went to Heathrow there, and we were saying, hey, will our cards work? So we took our cards, and I said, okay. Dr. Mwemba, here. You go there, friends, it's food 24/7. You drink, you eat, you sleep, you drink, you eat, you sleep. But then we also want to join the people. So you come out to the benches. You find the brethren are tired. They are sleeping all over here. They say, world citizen. We spent 12 hours at Heathrow, that's London. We were there, but we were not there. Because we did not go through immigration. That's transit. That's one way of going to heaven. You can be in the world, but not in the world. You are in transit. In other words, izinto zala awuzingeni. Azikuthinti nakancane. Like that Levite, ujakele Sabbath school. Nangu umJuda ulimele. Ubuka isikhathi uthi inkonzo seyangena manje. Lo ahambe. That story is told by Jesus to show the dangers of being in transit. You can't be in transit when you are the salt of this world. You gotta be mixed up. Okay? You have to be mixed. So this guy decides to leave this man and he goes because he's rushing for the church service. That is the transit model. That makes you irrelevant. You are occupying a space. You are taking up space. Irrelevant. But when you are the salt of the earth, you become part of the movement. Remember, we call it a movement. A movement has one characteristic. It recruits other people to join. That's a movement. You recruit people to join. You become part of the movement. So, transit. Then there is the Exodus model, which is what I like. Exodus model simply says, we will leave Egypt and proceed to Canaan. And they asked Moses to say, hey, who are you going with? He says, we are going with our children, with our families, with our cattle, with everything, and with your money too. We are going with it. That is the Exodus model. Let's go to heaven, but not in transit. Let's go Exodus. Because we're a movement. Let's collect things, let's collect people. Because this movement requires resources. This movement. It requires resources. Who will provide the resources? Us in the movement. Don't tell people what I'm going to tell you now. I get a salary. I get a salary. The man who did the stewardship reading was very powerful this morning. Yeah, because he reminded us to say even pastors, they must retain what we give them. During the week I said, my voice is what? My voice is your invoice. As I'm talking to you now, I'm invoicing you. Yes. But whatever you pay on the invoice, I must return tithe. So I return tithe from my salary. But last year, I sold this book. I sold so many of these books. Hey, I got money. Remember I said money is very powerful, isn't it? Yeah. Last year, I sold that book. Should I tell you? You won't tell anybody. Please don't put it on social media. Do you promise? Yeah. You are already putting it? I won't tell you. No, I'm not going to tell you. So the point I was making is that, yeah, we must return. You have to switch off that. But anyway, I sold this book. And the money came into my account. Hey, it was a lot of money for a pastor. And I returned tithe. I'll tell you the amount. I think I returned 20. About 40,000 tithe. Yeah. I had the joy. I felt happy to say, you know what? because you have opened the windows. Are you with me? You remember Pastor Alfred, what he said? We give because we got, not because we will get. So I returned the tithe. I was so happy that at least I'm contributing to the resources of the movement. That is the Exodus. In Exodus, we contribute. We give. Because the movement requires resources. You see this beauty I see here? These are resources. I told you because I also put things on social media. When I was seated here, I took a picture and what. So I sent it to somebody and says, wow, that church is very powerful. You have cushions in the front. I said, yeah. I showed them this. Hey, they said, I said, this is a very powerful church, my friend. But these are resources. So, the Exodus model says, let us contribute as we move. Now, this document, the Bible, this, we call it a Jewish document. A what? Yeah. This is a Jewish document. Okay, let me just... Yeah. It's a Jewish document written by the Jews and a few other people. This Jewish document, you know what it says? This Jewish document, the Jews have memorized it, the Torah. They memorized the first 5 books, the Pentateuch, written by Moses. That's what they call the law. So they memorize it. Not only have they memorized it, they practice it. The total Jewish population in America some time ago was 6 million. In America. America at that time had about 325 million. Now it's about 350 people. But only out of the 325, 2% is the Jewish population. And yet, that 2%, 20% of all leading professors in America are Jews. From the 6 million against 350 million are Jews. 40% of the top 40 richest are American Jews. And guess what? They are Seventh-day Adventists. They keep the Sabbath. You know, they keep it like us, right? 97, we went to Israel, and we were going to church, and we stayed in a place called the Mia Sherim. Mia Sherim is where you find Orthodox Jews, these Jews who are commanded by Israel to bear more Jews. They have large families, 7, 6 children. That's their job, to bear children. And the American Jews will fund them because the Jews are increasing their population because they are considered an endangered species. So we are walking to church. The same day we are going to church, they are going to the synagogue. Now, as we were walking, a Jewish family was walking, and it's in the morning. We were on their left. We are going this way. We were on that side. They are this side. And you know, in the morning, the shadow is there, isn't it? Yeah. So our tour guide stopped us. He says, stop. He says, let them pass first. Oh, so we stopped. They passed. They just passed gently, almost avoiding looking at us. I'll tell you why. They continued. I don't even think they looked at us. They continued. But there was something we were avoiding. The tour guide was avoiding. He was avoiding that we should not defile them because they are going to the synagogue. I'm not talking of hearsay. I'm talking of what I saw. I was stopped. I stopped. They passed. We should not defile them. How are we going to defile them? Our shadows should not fall on them. Because we are Gentiles. Yes, so we stopped. We withheld the Gentile shadows. They passed. If our shadows were to fall on them, we would have defiled them for the whole day. And they would not be eligible to go to the synagogue. In the Talmud, there are two books that have written, the Talmud and the Mishnah. Those are Jewish books of extra writings. In the Talmud, that's why Jesus will say, you Pharisees, you do what? Because they had put writings to protect the writing. Huh? It's like building a wall and another wall to protect the wall. That's what they had done. In the Talmud, if a wall, bonza, is it libonza or libonza? Yeah, collapsed on somebody, and they hear that the wall has collapsed on somebody, but they must check first, is it a Jew